The light in Ryu's palm pulsed faintly, cold yet strangely calming. The object was no larger than a coin, its surface etched with intricate symbols that seemed to shift and writhe under his gaze. He didn't know what it was, but he could feel its power, a sharp contrast to the overwhelming darkness that clung to him since his awakening. Ryu, muttering, "What now? Another curse?" The moment the words left his lips, the temple trembled. Shadows erupted from the walls, forming a swirling vortex around him. But this time, they didn't attack. They spoke. Voices of the shadows, layered, echoing. "Bearer of the Nightveil, the chain has been broken. The cycle begins anew." Ryu, grimly, "What cycle?" "Stop talking in riddles." The shadows didn't answer. Instead, they dissolved into the air, leaving behind a faint, almost imperceptible whisper. Whisper softly, "Seek the Nightveil's heart, or be consumed." Ryu's grip tightened on the strange, coin-like artifact. Whatever the heart was, it sounded like trouble. But if it could give him answers, or a way out of this mess, he had no choice but to find it. Scene transition. The temple's oppressive atmosphere seemed to lift slightly as Ryu made his way through its labyrinthine corridors. The faint glow of the artifact illuminated ancient carvings on the walls. Stories of war, betrayal, and a clan that had dared to defy the heavens. It didn't take long for him to realize these weren't just stories. They were warnings. One carving in particular caught his attention. It depicted a lone warrior surrounded by shadows, standing against a towering figure with glowing eyes. At their feet lay shattered chains, and above them loomed a fractured moon. Ryu, quietly, "The Nightveil clan, they fought the gods?" Narration. The thought seemed absurd, but the carvings didn't lie. This wasn't just a curse. It was a war that had spanned centuries. Before Ryu could ponder further, a sudden noise snapped him back to the present. The sound of hurried footsteps echoed through the halls, followed by a voice. Sharp, commanding. Voice, distant. "Find it!" The artifact must not fall into the wrong hands. Ryu pressed himself against the wall, his instincts kicking in. Peering around the corner, he saw a group of heavily armed mercenaries. Unlike the ones he'd faced earlier, these men moved with precision, their armor marked with strange sigils that glowed faintly in the dim light. Leader of the mercenaries, low growling, "The shadows are restless. The bearer is close." Ryu's eyes narrowed. Whoever these people were, they clearly weren't here by accident. And if they knew about the bearer, they might know more about the Nightveil. He didn't wait for them to find him. Moving silently, he slipped through the shadows, circling behind the group. His future-trained instincts and shadow-infused agility made him nearly undetectable. One by one, he took them down. Ryu, whispering to himself, "Thanks for the training, 25th century. Guess I'll put it to good use here." But just as he incapacitated the last mercenary, a sharp clap of energy filled the air. Ryu turned, his eyes narrowing as a new figure emerged from the shadows. A woman clad in dark robes, her hands glowing with an unnatural light. Celeste, calm, calculating. "Impressive. You move like a shadow, yet you are not one of us. Tell me, who do you serve?" Ryu, dryly, "I'm more of a freelancer. And you?" The woman smiled faintly, her eyes glinting with amusement, and something far more dangerous. Celeste, darkly, "I serve the will of the gods. And you, Shadow Bearer, are a blight that must be purged." Before Ryu could respond, Celeste raised her hand, and the air around them crackled with energy. Ryu barely dodged as a bolt of light shot past him, exploding against the wall in a shower of sparks. He rolled to his feet, summoning his shadow blade in one swift motion. Ryu, grinning, "You'll have to try harder than that." The battle that followed was unlike anything Ryu had faced before. Celeste's attacks were precise, each strike infused with divine power that seemed to burn away the very air around them. But Ryu was faster. The shadows obeyed his every command, forming shields and weapons to counter her magic. Despite his skill, Celeste didn't seem fazed. If anything, she looked amused. Celeste, mocking, "You're strong for someone so new to the shadow's curse, But strength alone won't save you. With a flick of her wrist, she summoned a circle of glowing sigils beneath Ryu's feet. He jumped back just in time to avoid the explosion that followed, but the shockwave sent him crashing into a nearby wall. As he struggled to his feet, the whispers returned, louder this time. Whispers urgent. Unleash us! Let the shadows consume her! Ryu, gritting his teeth. Not yet. I'm not losing control again. Celeste raised her hand for the finishing blow, but before she could strike, a deafening roar echoed through the temple. Both combatants froze, turning toward the source of the sound. From the darkness emerged a massive shadow beast, its form rippling with raw energy. Its eyes locked onto Ryu and it growled, a low, menacing sound that sent shivers down his spine. Celeste, stunned. The Guardian! Impossible, Ryu muttering. Great, just what I needed. The beast lunged, its massive form filling the temple with darkness. Ryu barely had time to react as the creature's claws slashed toward him, forcing him to dive into the shadows. As the temple shook with the force of the battle, one thing became clear. This was no ordinary challenge. Whatever secrets the Nightveil clan held, they came with dangers far beyond anything Ryu could have imagined. To be continued,